Maybe I should just wait until rates drop. I hear some version of this almost every week, and I get it. On the surface, it's a reasonable instinct. Wait for a better rate, pay less over time, then buy. I'm Glen Nadeau, and the truth is that just waiting doesn't just change your interest rate, it changes the entire landscape you're stepping into. More competition, tighter inventory, prices that reflect all of that new demand. So the real question isn't simply whether to wait, it's what the market actually looks like when you stop waiting. If you have questions, drop them in the comments below. Let's dive in. If you're weighing whether to buy in Palm Springs now or hold out for interest rates to drop, here's where I land after years of watching this market. For most buyers, now makes more sense, not because there's any urgency or pressure to act, but because right now, quietly and without a lot of fanfare, we're sitting in one of the more buyer-friendly markets this desert has seen in a long time. More inventory, more room to negotiate, more time to be thoughtful. And if rates come down later, you refinance. But if you wait, you're likely walking into a more crowded room with fewer seats and higher prices at the door. We've moved well past the frenzied anything goes energy of the pandemic years and settled into something considerably more balanced. Prices have stabilized and inventory has opened up. Homes are taking longer to sell, which means buyers today have something genuinely rare in recent memory: leverage. You can negotiate on price, you can ask for concessions, you can take that time to actually find the right home rather than making panic decisions on a Tuesday afternoon because you're terrified someone else will beat you to it. Now consider what typically happens the moment interest rates drop. Demand surges and it surges fast. Buyers who have been on the sidelines flood back in. Inventory tightens. The home that was sitting quietly and open to offers last month suddenly has 3 people writing on it by the weekend. Your rate may be better, but the price you pay and the experience you go through getting there can look very different. Palm Springs isn't a typical real estate market, and that distinction matters for this conversation. People aren't buying shelter here the way they might in the suburbs of any other American city. They're buying a lifestyle. The architecture, the sunshine, an unhurried pace, the sense that there's generally nowhere else quite like this. For a significant portion of buyers, this is a second home, a future retirement destination, or the beginning of a long-considered shift to how they want to live. That underlying motivation makes demand here more resilient than in markets driven purely by economic conditions. And then there's the community piece, which I think is one of the most underappreciated parts of that makes Palm Springs distinctive. This city has one of the highest concentrations of LGBTQ+ residents anywhere in the country. The sense of belonging here isn't a marketing line. It's woven into the daily fabric of this place. For buyers relocating from cities or towns where they've never quite felt at home, that community dimension becomes as important as the square footage or the mountain views. This isn't just timing of a purchase. For many people, it's about stepping into a different life entirely. Here's something I tell clients when we get into the weeds of this conversation. In all the years I've been doing this, I've never once had someone come back to me with regret about a home they loved and bought thoughtfully. The regret almost always points in the other direction, towards the one they hesitated on, the one they were 90% there but wanted to think about it a little longer, and then it was gone. 6 months later, with the benefit of hindsight, it's painfully obvious. That's the version of waiting that costs people the most. There's a layer to this conversation that doesn't come up enough, and it's the idea of buying ahead of your own timeline. If you have any genuine intention of eventually retiring in Palm Springs, even if that's 7 or 10 years from now, one of the smarter moves you can make is to buy sooner than you think you need to. Use the home part-time while you're still working. Rent it out strategically in the interim to offset carrying costs. Let equity build quietly in the background. Then, when you're actually ready to make the full transition, the home is already yours. You're not competing for it in a hotter market. You're not hoping the inventory cooperates or that prices haven't moved beyond what you have budgeted. You've already secured your place here. Now, Palm Springs does have thoughtful short-term rental regulations worth understanding. A permit is required, and there are caps on how many properties in a given neighborhood can be used for short-term rental purposes. That's precisely why working with someone who knows these neighborhoods well matters. The strategy only works if you start with the right property. This is usually when someone asks me, so does this mean we need to rush? No, this is not a panicked market. Some homes move quickly because they're priced well, show beautifully, and check a lot of boxes for a lot of buyers. Others sit for a while and quietly become opportunities for someone who's prepared. The difference between buyers who find great homes and buyers who feel perpetually behind usually has nothing to do with how fast they move. It has everything to do with how prepared they were when the right property appeared. Understanding your numbers, understanding the neighborhoods, and knowing what you're actually looking for before you start seriously touring homes, that preparation is what makes the difference. Is waiting ever smart? In fairness, waiting isn't always the wrong call. If you're not financially ready, or you genuinely haven't figured out what you're looking for yet, then taking the time to get clarity is the right move. There's no wisdom in rushing towards something you haven't fully thought through. Where waiting tends to cost people, though, is when it becomes a strategy built around perfectly timing the market. Because you're not just timing interest rates, you're also timing competition. You're timing inventory levels, you're timing how many other buyers are sitting on the same waiting room as you, ready to act the moment rates soften. And those variables rarely line up the way people picture them. If you're trying to figure out whether buying now makes sense for your specific situation, that's a good place to be. I have this conversation regularly with people across a wide range of budgets, timelines, and goals, and there's rarely a one-size-fits-all answer. If you're still in the early thinking phase, that's perfectly fine. This is a market that rewards clarity and preparation far more than it rewards speed. If you'd like to talk through what the market looks like in your price range, which neighborhoods align with how you want to live, or what a generally smart strategy might look like for where you are right now, reach out. You can call or text me directly or use the contact links in the description. No pressure, just perspective. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.